Welcome, everyone. My name is Gail, and I will be providing you some highlights or snippets of information, if you will, on this subject, who must file, as well as various others. So hang in there with me. This topic and the others are designed to be used as a reinforcement or resource tool to a couple of different audiences. The targeted audiences are the folks who, number one, have already attended some type of classroom training, be it face-to-face or virtual, and are unclear on the topic. Maybe something here will help to clear up the fuzziness. This group will be our first-time VITA volunteers. Number two, returning volunteers who simply need some refresher. Returning volunteers are those folks who have volunteered in the VITA program for 2 or more years. And then number three, the folks who prefer to complete the IRS Lincoln Learn e-learning online version entirely may also come here to possibly pick up some additional skills or knowledge. So no matter which group or audience you're in, just know that the online exams and test requirements remain the same for each of us. Now, using publication 4012, let's just go to tab A, Who Must File. The first page in tab A, page A-1, is the chart A for most people who must file their tax return. You will notice the very first statement under the banner: if you can be claimed as a dependent on someone else's return, whether or not that actually happens, you will not use this chart. You will use chart B. So let's just walk through the chart just briefly. If your filing status is single and at the end of 2020 you were under age 65, then file a return if your gross income was at least $12,400. If your filing status is single and at the end of 2020 you were age 65 or older, then file a tax return if your gross income was at least $14,050. Let's just go to one more. If your filing status was married filing joint, and at the end of 2020, you were under age 65 for both spouses, then file a tax return if your gross income was at least $24,800. If you're married filing jointly, and at the end of 2020, you were age 65 or older for one of the spouses, then file a return if your gross income was at least $26,100. Back over to married filing jointly. At the end of 2020, you were age 65 or older, that is for both spouses now, then file a tax return if your gross income was at least $27,400. Notice the third column in the chart mentions gross income. Well, the definition of gross income is located on the same page just below the chart. Table A or tab A, page A-1. I won't go there with you. I'll let you read that for yourself. Now, let's move on to chart B on page A-2. Now, chart B is used for children or other dependents. You recall the very first statement under the chart A's banner: if you can be claimed as a dependent by another taxpayer. The statement continues to say, see chart B. Well, this is chart B. So this chart references both earned, unearned, and gross income. So let's just read that. Going back to chart B, In this chart, unearned income includes taxable interest, ordinary dividends, and capital gains distributions. It also includes unemployment compensation, taxable Social Security benefits, pensions, annuities, and distributions of unearned income from a trust. Earned income includes salaries, wages, tips, professional fees, and taxable scholarship or fellowship grants. Then there's gross income. It is the total of your earned and unearned income. So as you can see, the definitions are all there for you, just in front of the actual chart. Now, let's just walk through a couple of the issues here on the chart. For single dependents, either 65 or over or blind, you must file a return if any of the following conditions apply. Number one, your unearned income was over $27,050. It's over $4,400 if you are 65 or older and blind. Number two, in that same area, your earned income was over $14,050 or $15,700 if you're age 65 or older and blind. Or three, your gross income was more than the larger of A, $2,750 or $4,400 if you're 65 or older and blind, or B, your earned income up to $12,050 plus $2,000 or $3,650 if you're 65 years of age or older and blind. That is for single dependents, either 65 or over or blind. Now, if we drop down just a little bit for single dependents under 65 and not blind, those dependents will file a tax return if any of the following apply. One, your unearned income was over $1,100. Number two, your earned income was over $12,400. Or three, your gross income was more than the larger of $1,100, or your earned income up to $12,050 plus $350. So those are the stipulations. Then, of course, we drop down to the merit dependents. And so I will let you finish that out and read that for yourself. Some of the money amounts changed this year from the last. To our returning volunteers, make certain that you're looking at the right publication 4012 when you're attempting to make a determination. Always read through each requirement, because the taxpayer may not be required to file. So then let's move on to Chart C. Now, Chart C deals with other situations when the taxpayer must file a tax return. I have arrowed a few of the most common ones for our taxpayer clientele. Chart C is other situations when you must file. You must file a return if any of the following conditions apply for 2020. If you would take a look at number 1B, additional tax on a qualified plan, including an individual retirement arrangement, that is an IRA, or other tax-favored account. But if you're filing a return only because you owe this tax or penalty, you can file the Form 5329 by itself. Take a look at item 1E, recapture of the first-time homebuyer's credit. We haven't talked about this, but we will in a later segment. So just be aware of that. And then there's number 3. You had net earnings from self-employment income of at least $400. You must file a tax return. And number 5, advance payments of the premium tax credits were made for you, your spouse, or a dependent who enrolled in the health care coverage through the marketplace. You or whoever enrolled you should have received the Form 1095A showing the amount of the advance payments. Granted, you don't know anything about this yet, but you will as we walk through the remainder of the segments. So, now let's move on to our final chart, that is Chart D. Chart D addresses who should file, not who must file, but who should file. Chart D says even if a taxpayer is not required to file a federal income tax return, they should file if any of the following situations below apply. Number one, they had income tax withheld from their pay, their pension, or the Social Security or other income. The taxpayer, number two, would have paid estimated tax payments during the year or had any overpayment from last year's estimated tax applied to this year's taxes. 3, you qualify for the earned income credit. 4, you qualify for the additional child tax credit. 5, you qualify for the refundable American Opportunity Credit. That has to do with the education credits. Number 6, you qualify for the premium tax credit. 7, you qualify for a recovery rebate credit, but didn't receive an economic impact payment or received less than the amount you were eligible for. That's new for this year. Then we can drop down to line 11, 10, and 11. You're required to file a state return. And number 11, you want to file a zero adjusted gross income return in order to prevent tax identity theft or to claim a state refund credit or other type of assistance. Always, did I say always? Refer to your resource guide, publication 4012, to assist our taxpayers in determining who must file and then who should file. Review each chart for clarification. Well, that's all for me. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Take care.